So Trump is sending 1,500 more troops to the border, and we want to deep dive into that. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel with turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
CBS News has exclusively learned that U.S. border agents have been told to deport migrants without granting asylum hearings or allowing them to request legal protection. This comes as the administration says it plans to send 1,500 additional troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. In his first TV interview since becoming president, Trump discussed his immigration policies and was asked about his approach to sanctuary cities. Listen to this.
We're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. You know, California is a big example.
Would you cut off their money?
I might have to do that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do.
Trump's immigration policies are already being challenged. Meantime, in just a few hours, a federal judge in Seattle is set to hold a hearing on the lawsuit filed by multiple states you see on your screen, challenging his executive order, which aims to revoke birthright citizenship.
Look at this, right? Look at the states that are challenging it. It's all blue states along with blue cities. Illinois. Well, Arizona is a swing state. Oregon. Come on, y'all. Look at this. Do y'all even understand birthright citizenship? Do y'all understand where it came from before you just start referencing the law? Do y'all understand where it came from? Birthright citizenship was originally for people that did not ask to be here, that was brought here against their will. Mainly African Americans. That's what it was created for them to have citizenship in this country because they were forced to be here and they had children against their will often at times, but they were already citizens because they helped build this country. It was not meant to be finessed by and from people that come here and then have children so that they can just automatically stay here and benefit off of a system that was not built for them, that they do not contribute into.
And later today, in a separate headline for you, Trump is set to virtually address leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. That annual gathering brings global leaders together with some of the wealthiest people in the world. For more on all of this, let's bring in CBS News political reporter Anton Navaro, joining us from our D.C. bureau this morning. Aaron, let's get back to Trump and his immigration and border policies. Which agencies will now be heading to the southern border? And where is that drawing resources from?
Good morning, Errol. Drawing resources at the request of the Department of Defense, 1,500 troops via an executive order Trump signed earlier this week will be heading to the border. 1,000 from the Army, in addition to 500 Marines that will be going to El Paso and San Diego. That's in addition to 2,500 military troops that were already along the southern border. And these troops will not be acting necessarily as law enforcement, but will be assisting Border Patrol when it comes to detaining migrants, as well as a request to build barriers along the southern border. And the Trump administration has requested potentially up to 10,000 military troops to be sent to the border. They put in a request to the Pentagon for, quote, unrestricted resources and personnel, according to an internal CBP memo.
And what did Trump have to say yesterday in this interview with Fox about his pardoning of January 6th defendants, which some Republicans don't seem to agree with?
Yeah, Republicans seem to not agree with the pardoning, especially of those who were violent towards Capitol police officers on that day. Trump was asked about that, and he repeated a similar line, you know, decrying the prison conditions that some of these people were held in, even though a lot of them had still been in pretrial, had not even seen sentencing. But he also alluded to the reason why the rioters and protesters were at the Capitol that day, following his, you know, quote, big lie about the 2020 election being stolen. Take a listen to the clip.
They were protesting the vote because they knew the election was rigged, and they were protesting the vote. And that should be allowed to protest the vote.
Let me pivot for a minute and let's go back to other insight and other coverage, because I like to use multiple different sources about all of these buses of migrants being deported, and now Mexico is opening shelters to accommodate all of the people that's being deported back to their country.
This latest
I actually believe, honestly, if you ask me personally, I actually believe that these illegal migrants, I don't think that we need to go through all of the effort of just deporting them back to their country. I think that that should come at the hands of the place that they crossed in from. If you crossed in from Canada, then I think that they need to be deported back to Canada and then let it be Canada's problem. If you came in from Mexico because Mexico helped you get here, I think that that should be Mexico's problem, and they should be the ones that send you back to Guatemala or Venezuela. But that's just me. That's just me. Because I think that everybody should pay for what they did. Everybody should pay for what they did. Because you can't let cartel members and the Mexican authorities and the Mexican legislators and their politicians, because don't think for 1 second that they didn't benefit from this whole migrant crisis. Everybody got rich. Everybody got rich. We should take them back to where they crossed over from and then let them do the work of finding their country of origin and sending them back, since they allowed for them to be able to come over into the country and walk the streets and then come straight into the United States of America. Everybody should have to pay for this. Not just here, not just the United States of America. We shouldn't be the only ones footing the majority of the bill.
This deployment comes as new video shows buses full of migrants returning to Mexico from American detention centers after the Department of Homeland Security reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy. That means folks have to sit in Mexico while awaiting for any applications to get into the U.S. Under the program, officials can send asylum applicants back while they wait their day in court. News Nation's Jorge Ventura is live at the border in Texas tonight. And Jorge, what are you seeing on the ground, and where are these buses with these migrants heading back to Mexico coming from?
What's going on, Forsaken Archives?
So Elizabeth, here I'm right outside the McAllen Hidalgo port of entry. Right across this is Reynosa, Mexico, and on Tuesday we witnessed buses of Mexican nationals deported back to Mexico. It's the first deportees under the Trump administration. We are now learning that those Mexican nationals were coming from the Dana and McAllen migrant detention centers right here in South Texas. And according to officials, they say it is a normal routine. But Mexican officials say they expect those scenes to ramp up dramatically of Mexican deportees heading back to Mexico, as well as foreign nationals. Now, we did speak with Mexican immigration officials who say that they have ramped up those resources. They are set to open 3 new shelters in Reynosa, Nuevo Laredo, and Matamoros. They will be able to hold up to 2,500 deportees, but those shelters will only accept Mexican nationals and not foreign nationals. Those shelters.
And see, that's the problem, because they only accept the Mexican nationals, but they should find out exactly where these people came from, where they flew into, because if you don't know, it's people from all over the world that were flying into Mexico and then crossing over into the United States of America. There were people all over the world that were flying into Mexico and then crossing over into the United States of America. So what Mexico is basically saying is, listen, we know y'all sending all of these troops down here because y'all using y'all troops to protect y'all borders, which we should have been doing in the first place, but we only going to accept Mexicans back. We not going to accept Guatemalans. We're not going to accept Haitians. We're not going to accept Venezuelans. We're not going to accept Chinese. We're not going to accept Japanese. We're not going to accept Sudanese. We're not going to accept any of these. That's what Mexico is saying, is that we only setting up camps for Mexican refugees or Mexican illegals that are sent back over here into our country. For everybody else that crossed over through our borders, we don't want to be responsible for. And that's a bad deal.
Will also provide temporary lodging, medical checkups, and as well as transportation back to the country of origin. According to Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, she has also launched the Mexico Embraces You program as Mexico gets prepared to take in those deportees. Take a listen to what Mexican immigration officials tell us on how they're preparing for that influx.
Somehow, almost everyone brings money for their journey, but they are also being supported with a discount from the federal government so they can purchase another bus ticket at a given amount at a discounted rate. Those buses are provided for free by the National Institute of Migration.
Mexican government is also providing those Mexican nationals around 2,000 pesos so they could return back home. Elizabeth, back to you.
All right, Jorge Ventura live at the border. Thanks so much for watching. Go to
That's how I feel about it. I think that we need to start holding these countries accountable for helping to participate with the Biden administration in the migrant crisis that we've seen happen over these last 4 years is absolutely disrespectful.